My last year of college, I was kidnapped and I was raped.
One of the most traumatic things a human being can go through. Do you think that experience is what helped you find your truth to going down?
I feel comfortable when I make a decision. Shoved me into the trunk of a car, brought me to a construction site, and then dropped me back off at the restaurant district in the West Palm Beach area. And I don't have any recollection of any of it.
So you turned your pain into a positive way to help the world. So let's just start off with the NCL, National Combat League.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is?
Yes. So I created what is considered the minor league system for MMA. Up until me, it was a very disparate system where there was no pipeline for an athlete to go from, a 17-year-old kid in high school who wanted to might be on the wrestling team to getting into a UFC contract worth $100,000. It was all over the place, mostly because it's been run by men. Sorry, it's the truth. It took a little woman's touch to get into the industry and realize, you guys are all doing your own thing and all of you are fighting against each other as promoters in these little cities all over the place. We need to have some organization because the athletes are suffering. They don't have a true path the way that like Major League Baseball has minor league baseball, how the NFL has college football usually is the path to that, or how basketball has the G League and that kind of thing. So I was like, what are we doing here, guys? Let's make it a little bit easier to get from point A to point Z. Get yourself a career in UFC, PFL, Karate Combat, ONE FC, that kind of thing. So the NCL is the National Combat League, and it is like the NFL would be, where it oversees 16 right now licenses, or what the NFL would call teams. Like the NCL is like the NFL, and then one of my promotions is like Total Warrior Combat or True Warrior Combat. Those are like the Miami Dolphins would base. So National Combat League is basically just a place for fighters to get developed for contract with someone like Dana White.
That's incredible. And you own all 16 teams in the National Combat League as well.
Yes, and priming them for sale in the future. The idea would be that each team would be owned by someone the way that each NFL team is owned by someone. But for now, the way that you start off is you develop them first, make them valuable, and then you sell them off to individual team owners that are then commissioned by my NCL body.
Were you ever a fighter?
Yes, I did karate growing up. I did other sports as well, but I never thought that I would end up in the martial arts discipline at all. It was something that came about as a result of my other company and my other endeavors, and then I just kind of realized it was the life path I was supposed to walk, and I had to take that step and move into it.
It's a tremendously massive field, and what was the person or what was the event that triggered your entry into the space?
So we were talking about this earlier about how I was totally fine talking about this story. So I entered into this space back in 2021 when I met my ex-boyfriend at the time, who was a strength and conditioning coach for a PFL fighter. And he just happened to be here in town in Florida from another state. And we met, and it was like one of those things where, I'm fine being completely public about it, but this is a little bit dramatic here.
Okay.
Just so you know. Love of my life, I would say, one of those like soul tie type of people, and he ended up what I would consider not being like the person I'm supposed to be with for the rest of my life, but the person that was supposed to introduce me to my life path. And I will forever be grateful to him for that. And so he introduced me into the world of combat sports. Not something I was ever interested in before, but then I started learning about the business, politics of the business, the sport and discipline itself, and it just blew my mind how fast a sport could grow, right? And then I was really taken by Dana White's business approach to the growth of the industry, and as what I would consider myself to be a business savant, as a business consultant for a decade, I was obsessed with how Dana grew the concept from nothing to the fastest growing and most lucrative sport on the planet. They don't play football everywhere, do they? Like American football, no. But you could find combat sports in any country on this planet. We've been doing it since the Greco-Roman days.
True.
So I just found it fascinating, and so that's how I got into it, was through a former romantic partner.
And how did that start? Did he introduce you to people in the industry? Were you going to like what type of events did you attend that submerged you and attracted you to it?
So at the time, I was working on a beta launch for my other company called TruthMap. And as a behavioral scientist, I had teamed up with a clinical psychologist who had a new therapeutic method. We've been using cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, since the 1960s. That means it was developed before the internet even was around. So it's really archaic in terms of being the default method that all of the therapists use. So Dr. Lukens created something called core issue completion therapy, and I was blown away by the therapeutic model. And it just made sense that we needed to bring this to the people. So I created a brand name for it, and we turned it into a method that you could use digitally called TruthMap. So at the time, I told my ex-boyfriend that I was really interested in getting this in front of more men. And he said, okay, well, maybe we should start sponsoring some local sports stuff, like a baseball team here, like a minor league team, that kind of thing. We started doing some research, and he found that there was, because obviously he's in combat sports as a strength and conditioning coach, he found this promotion in Lansing, Michigan called Total Warrior Combat. So we decided to sponsor it. And that meant putting our logo on the cage pad, Truth Map down the cage pad, handing out flyers at the event and stuff like that. But then as we got more involved, I was more involved with the athletes, and I decided to tell the owner of the promotion at the time that I would give the fighters free therapy. And I just got really involved with their stories, and I realized that a lot of athletes' mental health is completely neglected. They say, hey, coach, I'm not okay. And the coach says, leave it on the court or leave it in the cage. And yeah, that's not how that works, bro. So I was getting really involved with that. And then the owner came to us and said, I've been doing this for about 10 years. I'm getting tired. I want to get out. I love how involved you guys are. Do you want to acquire it? So he offered to let us buy it, and I originally acquired it with my ex-boyfriend. And then we moved forward on everything, and then some things took place, and I decided to take it over myself. And then from there, I was like, oh, this is a very unorganized bottom level of a sport. I can bring some organization to it, and I grew it from there.
Well, that's a great law of life, is that by sponsoring an event, you were really on the path of being the behavioral scientist that you are in promoting the app, Truth Map, and then you offered your services, built a relationship with the owner of the event, and now you are now the owner of not only that team, but 16 teams in the entire National Combat League.
Yeah.
Just from sponsoring one event.
Just one event opened my eyes up to what needed to be done. And I think that's something to be said about how maybe sometimes I thought I was on my life path. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is like rivers have tributaries, like different paths that can pull off of it. And it felt like I just didn't know I wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? Until I was there. And then I was like, no, this is where I'm meant to be.
Do you think did you have to get on a plane to sponsor that event?
Oh, yeah. I moved to Michigan to learn the whole industry.
But and where were you living when the sponsorship opportunity became available?
Fort Lauderdale.
So you flew from Fort Lauderdale.
I drove.
You drove?
Yes. So my ex-boyfriend was a veteran, and he had a service dog. So he didn't really like to fly. It was a big dog, and my ex-boyfriend was a very big man. So he drove to Michigan. I met him, and 3 days later drove up to Michigan with him, and we built this whole thing together over the course of a year.
That you only had known him 3 days, and then
It's the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm a Capricorn. I don't do anything crazy, but it was meant to be, because now I'm where I'm meant to be. Regardless of whether or not we ended up staying together, it just ended up being the right thing to do. And I don't know. Sometimes you just got to follow your gut, even if other people might think it's crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, the law of spontaneity. He said, "Let's go to Michigan." You said, "Let's do it. I'll sponsor." And we
hadn't even had that idea yet.
You hadn't even had that idea. So the first trip, there was no sponsorship.
No. There's an opportunity for us up there. Let's see what we can do with men's mental health and stuff. Come on up, spend a couple weeks, and let's talk to the guy and figure it out. We got up there, and it was an even bigger opportunity than we had ever anticipated. And the rest is history.
That is amazing. I just love how you just went for it, because not a lot of people would get in a car and drive to Michigan.
With a man they
and
only met 72 hours earlier.
yeah, definitely amazing. I love that story. That's incredible. That says a lot about your spirit. You just go for it. You just go for it.
I have, and this is why we call it Truth Map. We give you the method gives you a map to your inner truth. We are not about like healing you from anxiety and depression and all these ailments and mental illnesses that we're all suffering from. We don't see those as a problem. We see those as a symptom of the cause, which is you getting so far away from your gut and your intuition that you're not following a map of your truth. And so then the further away you get from your life path, the more anxious you get, the more depressed you get. You know what I mean? Like, there are certain mental illnesses that are neurological, of course. There are a lot of our mental anguish comes from just us not following our emotional truth. And I feel so in tune with my gut that I feel comfortable when I make a decision to trust somebody or to not trust somebody or to move forward in a business partnership or in a romantic partnership, that sort of thing. When you're so in line with your gut, there's no reason why you should fear.
Very true. Are you at your highest level of joy in your life now?
I would say, yeah, I am. And I think that you can't say that unless you can be at your highest level of truth. There is no joy without acknowledging certain things. For instance, I might not be at my highest level of what I would say self-actualization yet, but because I can acknowledge that, I can at least be happy and rejoice in the fact that I'm honest with myself.
So tell me a little bit, what was the path to become a behavioral scientist?
Yes, so I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, then I got a master's in executive leadership, and then I went through a Stanford program for a year to become a consumer behavioral analyst. And it's just a lot easier to say behavioral scientist. And because I have the BS in biochemistry, the term makes more sense. So the idea being, you have to have a BS first. You have to have a bachelor's in science, and then you're looking to do either a certification program or a master's program in as an analyst of data, because that's what we really do. We're not here to therapize people. I'm not here to sit here with you and figure out what your depression is about. I'm here to listen, to take the notes from the therapist who has had 18 clients who've, okay, I'm going to dial it back. You know the DSM-5 or the DSM-4, the book, the diagnostic book that we use to tell you that you have depression or whatever. Okay.
Yes.
So for instance, what's it called? When a woman is postpartum depression, no one had a name for that 40 years ago. It took a behavioral analyst or behavioral scientist to go through hundreds of notes from a clinical psychologist saying, I keep finding that these women have babies and then they get really sad. And then finally, after enough times, they go then to higher education and they say, we're seeing a pattern here. We got to make a name for this so that we could treat it. We can identify it. So then every therapist in the country a woman that was pregnant that now has a baby walks into their office and they've never had that type of client before. Well, now they know that there's a person in higher education that's given it a name so they can identify it when they walk into their room. So that's what I do, is I'm helping create language for our ailments as a species.
I love that. I actually did a paper in college on postpartum depression. So it's
Wow.
interesting
That's
that
crazy that I pulled that one out of the hat.
It's interesting that you use that.
That was so random too.
We have there's a lot of connection. And I also attended Stanford one summer.
That's
How did
amazing.
you like Stanford?
I loved it, honestly.
What a campus, huh?
I know. I mean, what a people.
So I'm really fascinated by that, by your path. And so first of all, how did you get through biochemistry?
Oh my God.
That is ridiculously
difficult. A lot of
difficult.
Red Bull. It was a lot of Red Bull. There was a lot of mornings and nights in the rotunda of the basement. No boyfriends for 4 years. I had really good professors. I went to Palm Beach Atlantic University. It's a small private Christian college in Palm Beach. And so what I would have is a class of 20 to 30 people, which meant that I had direct access to my professors instead of like a TA. And so I could just go sit outside of my professor's office, Indian style on the floor, doing my notes, doing my homework, and I could just get up and walk into the office and say, hey, how does this work, So to be honest with you, the reason I got through it was because it's such a hard discipline, but I had such great access to professors with beautiful hearts that cared about their students.
Did you know you were going to become a behavioral scientist?
No,
Or
not
were
at
you
all. I
thinking
was
about medical school? Okay.
and or a PhD research track. So I'd gotten into Lipscomb for a neuroscientist research PhD program. I'd gotten into a couple DO programs for med school. You took the MCAT and all of that. And what we call in science, we dichotomize science into two categories: hard sciences and soft sciences. I think we've categorized them incorrectly. But the idea is hard sciences are like the medical field and stuff like that, physics, things of that nature. And then the soft sciences are like sociology, psychology, anthropology, stuff like that. But I think it's harder to understand the human psyche than it is to understand the human brain, which is why I thought I was on the hard science track. And I was like, yeah, I'm completely dedicated to this. One of my truths was I found out that I was really kind of doing it because my mother had grown up in an era in which she wasn't told that she could be a doctor, so she had to become a nurse. But she deserved to be a doctor. She's a brilliant woman. Later on in her life, when I was in college, she ended up in nurse practitionership, and now she's an NP with Cleveland Clinic. But I realized I was following her dream of becoming a doctor, and I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to work on the human brain. I wanted to work on the human heart. I didn't know that until I had the opportunity to with Dr. Lukens. So
That's incredible. So you got your degree, then you went on to get your master's. And how was the master's?
oh, that was also tough. That was tough. That came not because it was not, the discipline was easier, organizational behavior, corporate structure, leadership in a corporate setting, stuff like that was the topics of study. But what was tough was what I was going through at the time was I had, and this is something I'm public about, again, I'm an open book to the world. My last year of college, I was kidnapped and I was raped.
Oh.
And it wasn't until years later in my mid to late 20s that I actually started going to therapy about it and like unpacking it. So I'd started the master's and was also unpacking something that had happened to me that was pretty brutal years earlier. So I was having to go through finishing out the degree while also emotionally finishing out an incompletion I'd been living with for a couple of years.
That's one of the most traumatic things a human being can go through. Do you think that experience is what helped you find your truth to going down
Absolutely.
the alternative path?
Yeah, because it was after I had been in therapy for a while that I started pursuing the behavioral science path. You know, I was thinking that I'd end up as a CEO of a company or something like that. That's why I did the executive leadership masters. But the more that I unpacked and learned with my therapist about myself, the more I was fascinated with how we could heal as a species.
May I ask, when you were kidnapped, how many days you were taken?
It was one evening.
One evening.
Shoved me into the trunk of a car, brought me to a construction site, and then dropped me back off at the restaurant district in the West Palm Beach area. And I don't have any recollection of any of it.
So you did not know this person?
No, not at all.
So
I was out with two of my girlfriends, and their boyfriends came, and they decided to go to the next restaurant. And I had just met the man, and we were talking or finishing up our conversation. We were going to meet them at the next restaurant, but instead, something happened, and I just ended up what I would consider drugged.
Right.
And took me, shoved me into the car, and drove me however far away, and then dropped me back off on the sidewalk later that night. It was a very traumatizing event.
Of course.
But it is the impetus for why I wanted to put my mental health app in front of more men.
Tell me more about the app.
Yes. So we're going to be relaunching now that we've finished our beta. Our beta did really, really well with, I think we had a cohort of about 1,000, maybe 1,100 people on it. And we saw an improvement in the score that we track is not joy. It's not feeling. It's not how good you feel. We track morale.
Morale.
Morale is how much do you want yourself to win at the game of life today? Because that is like the least common denominator of everything else you could feel. If you want yourself to win at the game of life, you're going to feel joy. Wow. So we track morale. So we had a 38% increase in morale in 30 days for 90% of the people involved in the cohort. So we're going to be relaunching in end of September to the public. We're working on a project with Palm Beach County where anybody that has a zip code in the Palm Beach County area is going to get the Truth Map app for free.
Wow.
We've worked on it with Palm Beach County Healthcare District, and we're moving forward with that. I'm intending to also move forward with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, Martin County Sheriff's Office to do some criminal justice reform work, where every inmate that's released after being in jail is given a year premium subscription to our app, along with a packet of how to get their life back on track and how to deal with the self-esteem damage and the grief that comes with having been put in jail. And one of the things is that offenders usually repeat, and we think, oh, we're helping them by making jail so harsh on them, but in reality, we're depressing their self-esteem. We're giving them grief and loss. We're keeping them from being able to find a job in the future, and now they come out into the real world, and oh, their mental health is, nobody gives a crap. So I'm working to also work in the criminal justice reform area so that we don't see as many repeat offenders.
So how many years after that, the night that we talked about, that you were of the trauma, how many years after that trauma did you design this app?
Oh, design the app? Oh, okay. That would have been 2019, and this would have occurred in 2014, so 5 years.
And you said something very interesting, which was you wanted more men to be aware of this app because of the trauma that you sustained.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that.
So when I was doing some research on advertisements for the app, online advertisements, on Facebook, you can go in and you can look at your competitors' company pages, and you can see the ads that they're running, the pictures and the copy and who they're in front of. And what I realized was, as I would go on to look at BetterHelp's advertisements and stuff, they were not putting any ads in front of men. Well, that's because they were hiring outside marketing agencies. If you're charged with getting return on investment for a company, well, a woman is more likely, she's like 30% more likely to download a mental health app. She's 80% more likely to go to see a therapist. So if I'm trying to get ROI for BetterHelp because they've contracted me as a marketing agency, then it's probably best that I only put this ad in front of women. So they were very few and far between ads from any of the major 20,000 mental health apps on the App Store, and I could rarely find ads that were being placed in front of men. And so I thought, okay, we're complaining about men's mental health, and oh, men don't want to go to therapy, but you're not showing them that tools exist. So I got really pissed. And that's when I was like, okay, we're going to do ads, but we're also going to launch it in sports, because now it's not just an ad on your Instagram page. It's like, in my head, I saw it like this. You know, after the Super Bowl, they used to go, okay, you know, you just won the Super Bowl. Where are you going next? I'm going to Disney. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, you just won the championship belt. Where are you going next? I'm going to therapy. And you just watch this man, this welterweight, just win the whole division title, and he says that he goes to therapy. What's your excuse? Be out on the couch watching the UFC? You know what I mean? So I felt like that was, in my head, hurt people hurt people. The trauma that we find, like what you'll find when you unpack the real stats, people want to say we want to put racists away, rapists away, pedophiles away. They should, all of that. Those people were hurt indefinitely. Like, rapists usually have a long history of childhood molestation. So I don't have anger for the man that raped me. I know that on some level something was wrong with him, but that was because someone did wrong to him. So I just want to put the tools in front of people before it escalates, you know, before their pain turns into other people's pain. I believe it's like a disease. Contempt is a disease. When you're traumatized and you have no way to figure out how to resolve it, you're just going to do it to the next person that you can.
You have a very forgiving heart.
Thank you.
Because a lot of women that have gone through what you've gone through would be angry, obviously. It can take years and years and years to heal from that. And for you to look at that with more of an empathetic understanding of the assailant's mindset is pretty extraordinary.
I would say it's what makes us human. And the further we get away from understanding, the worse we get off as a species.
So, aside, obviously, that being one of the most traumatic events you've experienced in your life, do you apply that same empathy in business?
Yes, absolutely. I have a 2 strikes, you're out policy. So, but the reason why I take away the 3rd strike is because I give you the forgiveness on the third, like that third thing. We don't go back into business together. I release you from the agreement, the contract, the good faith handshake deal, whatever it is, because you've showed me the first time that you've done something and it didn't align with what you said you would. The second time is the forgiveness, is now you can come back and do business with me again, or I'll let you back into the fold, or whatever it is. But now it would be on me to believe that you could change. And now I would actually hold myself responsible because I know you're going to do it again on the 3rd try. And that right there in business is my forgiveness of, okay, sweetie, it's not working out anymore, but I don't hold you the contract anymore, walk away. Oh, but no, I really want to do it with you again. I really want to work on you with this again. I won't drop the ball this time. No, I know you will. And that's so the action of releasing someone that has not figured out their pattern yet is what I consider my biggest strength in business.
What are an example of some of the strikes that you would consider violations of the good faith handshake?
Oh, that's good. Let's see. So one time I had a young man that worked for me, and he had to liaison with the C-suite of a venue that we were working with. And something went wrong, and it would have blown back on him, and he would have had egg on his face with me, and screamed at the boardroom on the phone, like right before our event, and that looks very poorly on me, if that makes sense.
Of course,
So
anyone that represents you being disrespectful.
raising their voice, and the CEO of the venue was a woman, and it was not the way that I conduct business. I don't raise my voice at all. And so for him to be my representative and to do something in business that I would never have done was a 1 strike, right? Okay, so then very simple, sit him down, explain, you don't do that. I know you were angry, but now that's where executive leadership and emotional culture in the workplace comes into play. I sent him to Dr. Lukens. I said, give him 3 sessions, see what was coming up for him. Was he, was he scared or whatever? What it turns out was that he had felt like he was a disappointment to his mom. And I, as a female boss, represented a mother figure. And when things weren't going the way that he knew that I would have wanted it to go, he had an anger resistance or defense mechanism against the shame or the guilt he was going to feel in telling me what had gone down. So instead of being like, okay, I can handle this, it was the young childhood, I disappointed mom stuff that came up, and so he went straight to the anger instead of going through the rational mind and communicating with these people that they should have at least said to us this XYZ was going to happen if we did ABC, So that's an example of a situation in which I had to forgive the young man. He wasn't doing it because he was a bad employee. He got hijacked by the lizard brain,
No, it's so I guess. And was there a second offense, or is
No, that was the first deal.
And he's good.
And he did the coaching with Dr. Lukens, and he still works for me. In fact, he started his own business, and we look back on that. That was about 3 years ago. We look back on that and we laugh about it because he's like, I was so childish. I was like, no, you just didn't understand your own healing process. You needed to forgive mom for making you feel like you were a disappointment, because shouldn't have to. There should be no expectations on a 7-year-old.
Absolutely. Well, I have a law of life called the 24-hour rule.
Ooh, I like this. Talk to me.
I always say, if something upsets you, wait 24 hours before you talk about it with the other person. Because sometimes you can be triggered by lack of food, lack of sleep, or some prior trauma.
Yeah.
And to meditate on what really upset you before expressing about it. What do you think of that law?
Well, 2 things. One, sometimes unless you want to get into a discussion about free will.
I'm open to anything.
Okay, good.
I'm loving this conversation.
You are? Okay,
yes.
Good. That makes me happy. So in my head, this concept of free will and the idea that you could wait 24 hours, right? Okay, that takes two different types of energies. Your body can hijack you, and we really don't have free will in those cases. We really don't. Like if your blood sugar drops, do you have control over your blood sugar with your mind?
Probably not from a medical point of view. You're
Exactly,
the
right?
biochemist in the
Well,
family.
that's what I mean is that there are some things, so our behavior, like how much of it do we have control over when the body plays a role, right? So can I wait 24 hours if my blood sugar has dropped to like, and at what point does the blood sugar, because I haven't eaten, go to such a point that I can't control myself to wait to talk for 24 hours, right? And then the second component is how much, so now let's say it's not a hunger thing or a body physiological thing, it's just a mind-based thing. How disciplined are you at understanding your emotions and knowing where you come from? Hot head, right? What's the difference between a hot head and someone that can wait 24 hours? Someone that is emotionally intelligent. And half the time it's because people just snap back in those moments because they can't even identify that they're in those emotional states. So I would say, like, yeah, I love this rule, but people need to learn the rule the way that they need to learn how to lift weights. It's like a muscle that you have to practice.
This is true. I mean, you definitely have to practice, but I mean, I've seen, I'm human, obviously, and I've had my moments where I didn't follow that rule,
Yeah.
and I saw the damage that it can cause. Because I think when you do
The
speak,
sting of it can teach you too.
oh yes, and I think you just burn the bridge unnecessarily. So I've definitely improved at that law. I'm
I
not
think
going
the
to say I'm
older we
perfect.
get, the better we are.
The older we get.
That's one of the biggest, what you just said is one of my biggest lessons I try to teach people through truth mapping and through my Fight League storylines and stuff, is the idea of self-sabotage. Why would you want to burn a bridge? One of the things I bring up with people is, why do humans shoot themselves in the foot? It's their own foot. Shouldn't they want to keep it? Humans are the only species that commit suicide. Why is that? What's going on inside of us that we don't believe that we deserve to be here? It comes down to that deserving. Why should I snap back immediately and not take a step back from an emotional moment, take the 24 hours? Because we know it's only going to lead to the pain, right? But we still go through with it instead of the self-discipline of, no, both I and this other person deserve for me to take a step back and then come back and explain. So self-sabotage is one of our species' biggest issues. It's going to hold us back in a lot of ways too.
I actually didn't know that we were the only species that committed suicide. So that's. Do you think that's because of our level of intelligence that maybe we?
No, I think it's because of our level of stupidity. So this is where I'll go with it. So there is this this phenomenon called feral child syndrome. And there's like 17 documented cases you can look up online. And I think the latest one that existed was like the 1960s maybe. But you think about Mowgli from the Jungle Book. It's a kid that was lost to the jungle and he was raised by animals. So feral child syndrome is documented cases of children that were lost by humans and then raised in the jungle with an animal pod, either bears or wolves or whatever it is, and then later found by us as a species, humans, and taught a language. And when they first meet these little kids, they come out, they're naked. They don't have clothing on like Adam and Eve, right? There is no reason for me to put clothing on myself if I'm living amongst the animals. The wolf's not telling me, hey, bro, cover up. Like, no, that's not happening. But then, so they don't feel any shame and guilt. Those two emotions aren't inherently embedded into our DNA as a species, biologically. We learn those as a result of our languaging capacity. We speak a language, it's a specific type of language, and we have taught each other what you should and should not do to me and what I should and should not do to you. But each culture has its different definitions of that. For instance, the Asians in most countries in Asia will take their shoes off when they walk into a room because that is a level of respect that they afford to other people, and they feel shame if they don't do it or if they forget to do it. But we don't really do that much in America. So we don't feel shame about the same thing that another culture does. So why do we commit suicide? Because of shame and guilt. It's a self-esteem issue. Or on the flip side, it could be a grief and a loss issue where I have experienced so much grief, so much loss in this life, but why the F should I still go on living? Or I have done so much bad, I feel so guilty. Or I have been shamed so badly by others that I feel like a piece of crap that I must remove myself from the planet. But the only way we know shame and guilt is because I can tell you to feel shame. You should be ashamed of yourself. Animals don't say that to each other. They just have the basic emotions: fear, anger, sadness, disgust, and then interest, desire, and joy. And then all other experiences come from that. But shame and guilt don't exist for other animals, and that's why they don't commit suicide.
So obviously, there's a lot of people that have gone through a lot of trauma, whether they're the victim, whether they've committed crimes, whether whatever side of the equation that they're coming from.
And I like that you picked up on that second side of the equation. It can be traumatic to hurt someone else.
Because of the past trauma,
Yeah.
right? So walk me through, say there's a criminal, convicted felon, and he does his time for the crime. And he starts working on the map, the app,
map, yeah.
the truth map. How is that going to help him?
Okay. So the way that we explain it, the foundation of the truth mapping method is based on Dr. Lucan's analogy called the fuck it bucket. For the kids app,
Love
we're going to
that.
call it the chuck it bucket. So every person is born with a thing, it's a bucket, okay? And when you're first born, it's empty. And there are two funnels that go into it. One funnel is self-esteem damage, and the other is grief and loss damage. And all human suffering for all 8 billion of us on the planet can be categorized. All trauma can be categorized into one or two, or categorized as both: self-esteem damage or grief and loss. And as you go through life, you start getting drip drops of the trauma. You know, I get bullied when I start preschool, and then, you know, daddy yells at me and that causes me some self-esteem damage, and then grandma dies and I feel lost and that kind of thing. So drip, 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 drop. And we're not taught how to empty the bucket. So the way that I explain how to categorize first, and then I'll explain how you empty the bucket, is that we had a client come to us once. She was in her early 20s, and her father had died in a car accident. And the police come to the front door and they tell the mother that, I'm so sorry, ma'am, your husband has passed away. Now that's a grief and a loss, right? You would categorize that as coming down the grief and the loss funnel. Okay. And then they say, and he was also found in the car with his mistress. And well, now that's a self-esteem damaging trauma too, because you've got the little girl saying, were we not good enough for daddy to be faithful to mom? And now you got the mom, who it would just been a loss for, saying, was I not a good enough wife for him to be faithful to me? And so then the little girl grows up to early 20s, she's having trouble with dating, and she comes to us to start working on her truth, which is that she felt grief and loss that dad died, self-esteem damage, she wasn't good enough that dad was faithful, and now she's pissed at men and having trouble in her dating life, right? So when you do the truth mapping method or using the app, you're going to figure out, where do I categorize it first? Just putting a title and a category to it is enough to sometimes help someone be like, holy crap, you're right. Just the knowledge of it helps release, right? And so then what happens is, if you don't empty the bucket gets full. And as life goes on, you're always going to experience trauma forever and ever. You could be a Tibetan monk and still experience it. As the bucket gets full, it overflows and it spills onto the floor. Well, that spilling onto the floor is almost like a feedback mechanism where you feel the need to cope, and that's when addiction usually starts happening. I start self-soothing with food, alcohol, cigarettes, shopping, relationships, etc. But what ends up happening is the actions you're taking to try and empty the bucket that aren't the right way to empty it end up adding more to the bucket. So for instance, one of her issues was, I'm having trouble dating men. I want to have a fulfilling relationship, but my bucket is so full. Then she would date them. She would drink alcohol. She'd get blackout drunk and send them nasty text messages. And then the next day she'd wake up. And one of the words that stuck with me in one of her sessions with Dr. Lukens was, and then I woke up with a shame over, or I felt bad for the words I said to the man, because he wasn't doing anything wrong, but I was seeing him as my dad. But she was blackout drunk. So she was using the alcohol to try and empty the bucket. But she was ending up then adding more shame through the self-esteem funnel into the bucket, right?
Sounds like a catch-22.
It is. Oh my goodness, being a human is a paradox, like a Chinese finger trap. So when you use the truth mapping method, what you're doing is, instead of like the Chinese finger trap, like the only way out is through. Like you think I should pull, but in reality, we help you move in and gently remove one finger at a time from this trap you've put yourself in. And like I said, sometimes it really just comes down to, the first aha moment is, oh, you're right, that did ruin my self-esteem. Now I got words for it. I didn't have words for it. It's really hard to put words to an emotional experience or a trauma. So when you start, if we're a languaging species, then the first thing should be to add language to our pain.
Absolutely. And I mean, that is one of the phrases that you use in describing what you do as a behavioral scientist is taking the data, taking the symptoms, taking the effects, and
Exactly.
putting a title. Because
Yeah.
in a way, putting a title on something is a form of therapy.
Yes, it is. And on top of that, again, because we are a uniquely paradoxical species, sometimes having a word for it also can ruin your ability to heal from it. So like leaning in on the word too much could be the problem itself, right? Where it's like, oh, I have anxiety, that means I don't have to resolve it. Just go, now I have a word for it, it's a term, whatever. But there's anxiety that's physiological, physical, that you do need meds for. And then there's anxiety that she had anxiety about getting in cars for a very long time. She wasn't physically born with the fear of cars, but her father passed away in one, and so she had a fear of driving. So you see, it's a very, very important balance to strike, and that's why we call it truth mapping, because we show you the map to your inner truth. We're not telling you what your truth should be. We're
like
telling
that.
you how to find what is your way out.
It's bringing a new level of consciousness
Yes, that's the plan.
and awareness. It sounds like, and is there a term of use recommended for this app, or is it a tool we can use for the rest of our life?
Yes, well, that's the hope, is that it becomes something you pull out whenever something hits the fan. The minute something hits the bucket, you now automatically know, oh, I could pull this out. And I could process this right now instead of sitting on it for 6 weeks or sitting on it for 6 months. We want it to be like a process as you go concept. All the other apps in the App Store use CBT, which is that behavioral therapy method that was developed before the internet even existed, which has caused a lot of mental anguish. So it's very, very like old school. So we're the only app that uses CICT, and we're hoping that this method catches on. And we intend to create courses for like continuing education courses for mental health, licensed mental health professionals, psychologists and stuff who were all trained on CBT in university. Now they can say, oh, now I'm also core issue completion trained. If you come into my office for that, we want it to both be a DIY therapy concept for people who can't afford to go in, but then for people that might have something deeper seated that you just need that other person with you on the other line. You could walk into a therapist in your hometown and someone knows how to do the method themselves. That's our next step, is to
Wow.
train clinicians that are already practicing in a continuing education course capacity. But we won't be able to roll that out until we've got the app fully consumer friendly.
Is the app now live yet?
No, we're going to be launching it at the end of September.
Well, that's exciting.
I know.
And Dr. Lucan is the inventor
Yes, of the method, yes.
of the method and the app.
Yes, well, I mean, the app's not special.
Okay.
The app does what all other apps do. You talk to a bot,
Okay.
you listen to audio courses. Like the technology is, I would consider, the wrapper, but the therapeutic method is the intellectual property.
Wow.
And he owns the intellectual property. He's been a clinical psychologist for 35 years and an emotions theorist and motivation specialist for 35 years. So the method is what makes it special, not the delivery.
Sounds incredible. And I mean, it sounds like a wonderful tool, and I love how you're collaborating with, Florida and incarcerated people coming out of jail and helping them and helping people. Are you doing that through a grant?
That's what we're working on right now, to raise the funds.
Great.
And then the next community we're looking to work with after the criminal justice system in Florida is the VA for veterans.
Incredible.
Because we believe that, Dr. Lukens and I believe that men are the natural leader in our species in the way that we need them to be, because then they allow females to be the leader that they're supposed to be. But the male species has lost its purpose in that they don't have to do the hunting and all the stuff that they used to do. Their physical bodies were meant to do something that they no longer have to do. So we're trying to change how they understand what their calling is as a species, as a group. They're supposed to now become emotionally wiser than they have had to be because they don't have that practical, physical, real world thing that they had to do before to protect us. Now it's their turn to learn how to protect our hearts. So every male community I can think of is what I'm trying to infiltrate with this movement, I would say. Because I could sit here and I can empower women all day long, but if nobody's empowering the males to learn how to love the new definition of masculine and love on women, then it'll just be well, we're trying to rise. Their self-esteem damage just inadvertently will tear us down. And so as a species, I believe it's time to focus in on them with a loving objective.
So what do you think is the optimal definition of masculinity that you hope to teach?
It's a really good question. Actually, because I don't want to botch it, do you mind if I pull up the definition I have verbiage-wise?
Not at all.
Okay.
Please
so I got it
do.
right here on my phone. Give me a second.
Please.
This is what we call the new definition of masculine.
I'm going to make a joke, but
Go ahead,
does it
do it.
include doing laundry?
Yes, because it ties into not only just the new definition of masculine that we are attempting to pull together here. Dr. Lukens has redefined the concept of love in general, so I'll come to that in a second. So the new definition of masculine, being a love leader includes being a very good student, learning from the most gifted person one can find, being a worthy apprentice to her or him in love, finding that person who teaches you how to be more loving. Doesn't have to be a romantic partner. We are living creatures, we are embedded with love, and we are perfectly capable of generating it. Are we capable as a species and as a male species of optimizing this process of connecting with and generating it? If you want to be a love leader, you have to upgrade your expectations of what it means to be a man. The concept of masculinity rarely includes the idea of love, but why can't it? Maybe it's time men are strong enough to know that it can.
Well, there's a lot to unpack in that
Yeah,
definition, but it sounds like Dr. Lukens is a big proponent of a love infusion.
Yeah. And not that hippy-dippy kind, but like practically, what else are we going to do if we don't infuse our behavior with love?
We may need to call Dr. Lukens, but what
I want him to come here on your podcast.
What you know him better than I, and obviously you're extraordinarily well versed on this. What is the definition of love?
So he's redefined love as CBI, committed benevolent interest. So it starts off with, I told you earlier how there are basic emotions that animals have and then the ones that we have on top of them. So interest is an emotion, and a lot of people don't realize it is one of our most important emotions.
Showing interest?
Interest in general. Without you interest your way through life. You're dead if your interest emotion shuts off in your body. Like if you have a stillborn, that stillborn comes into the world without the emotional component of interest, because that's what keeps it's what physically motivates your eyes to move in real time. And I'll get to that in a second. But committed benevolent interest is the definition of love, is that how committed am I to being benevolent, which is being good for you, being good on behalf of myself, or wanting good things for you and acting in your best interest. And how interested am I in being committed to doing good things for you?
Okay.
So if I come into the room and I don't have an interest in being committed to doing good things for you, or if I have low self-esteem, sometimes I'll end up having no interest in being committed to doing good things by myself, which ends up in smoking and stuff like that, right? Behaviors that you know aren't in your best interest. You're not really showing yourself love. So if we can scientifically, and we've broken it down with like math too. Committed benevolent interest. How committed am I to myself? On a scale of 1 to 10. How benevolent am I to myself on a scale of 1 to 10? How interested am I in myself on a scale of 1 to 10? Now turn it around to another person. How committed am I to you? How benevolent am I to you? How interested am I to you? And if you can add numbers to those things, then you are able to kind of like rationally say, oh wow, I haven't called my mom as much as I should have. I haven't shown up. When mom walked in the room and I knew something was wrong with her emotionally, I didn't say, Mom, do you need to talk? How committed am I to being good for her, doing good by her? How interested am I in her feelings, that sort of thing. And I always go to the mom when I make this analogy. So the idea that you can be a better loving man or woman really comes down to how committed are you to being your best self and doing good by others. And you have to have an interest in it first.
Well, do you look at it as two levels? You have to be CBI to yourself and to your partner?
You have to be CBI first because most likely if your levels are very, very low, and and this is what I hate, there's always like, you don't really have to love yourself in order to love others. No, you're people pleasing. If you have low love for yourself, whatever actions or behaviors you're doing to show your partner you love them is actually really just people pleasing.
Wow.
To literally compensate for the fact that your levels are low across the CBI board. And then you say, well, no, I really loved them. Look what I did for them. Look what I did. Yeah, but what was the intention behind what you did for them?
What is the numerical scale of measuring the CBI factors?
We consider it non-discrete, meaning that it can be like 1.1.1.122, you know what I mean? Like 1.12, 1.13, that kind of thing. But we haven't really cracked, now that we have AI though, we're working on that, how to drill it down. But right now, for the average layperson, we do a scale of 1 to 10 in the truth mapping journal on the app. So you can give yourself an 8 on the C, maybe a 7 on the B. And my interest is lower, and that's why the other letters are lower, that kind of thing. So we go with a scale of 1 to 10 right now, but we really, truly believe it to be just like everything else in life. It's like nothing is hard and fast and black and white, you know what I mean?
So what is your CBI in your mind?
So it depends on what you're asking me my CBI orientation to. So if you ask me, what's your CBI orientation to your business? What's your CBI orientation to your mom? What's your CBI orientation to your boyfriend? Your CBI orientation to your brother? It changes for whatever you're oriented towards because of the interest emotion. So for instance, I don't have as big of an interest in Formula One racing as I do combat sports. So how low is my CBI going to be for Formula One compared to combat sports? Well, I have a reason to have high love for a sport that I'm a business owner in, right? So that's the difference there. So you have to ask me in what relation.
All right. So now, one more question, because then we're going to do. I'll ask you a few scenarios.
Okay,
but
good.
do you do a separate score for the C, the B, and the I, or a total?
1 through 10, 1 through 10, 1 through 10.
Okay.
And then you can average it across all three.
Amazing. All right. So in your business, as the owner, being the only female owner of a combat league, what is your CBI on that?
I would say I'm at an 8 across the board. And the thing that's holding me back on those 2 points on all the letters is because sometimes my interest emotion is pulled in the direction of my other company. So it's like having 2 children, right? It's like I could give all my love to this one over here, but sometimes I feel a little guilty when I take a week or two and I just focus on Truth Map, or I take a week or two and I just focus on the MMA thing, the NCL, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm neglecting you over here, and I feel a little guilty, But so that you can also see how your love, even though it's infinite across a billion things you could split it, it doesn't mean that your actions have to change. Like I don't have infinite time, which is a factor in your love as well. So,
what's your CBI on the app?
On Truth Map app, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. I would say that's my legacy. And so I am just so committed to seeing it to fruition that it's funny, I've been thinking about starting a nonprofit called Dentures for Ventures. It's a nonprofit dental company designed to give entrepreneurs free teeth implants because of how many entrepreneurs I have met that have lost teeth for their businesses because they don't have dental work, like money for dental. And I lost a tooth back like at the first year before we got any funding and everything. I lost a tooth, and it was like that was a self-esteem damaging thing, right? Like I was like, because it just felt I couldn't afford to get it fixed and everything.
Yeah.
So then later on when we got the funding, I got an implant, and I was like talking to too many people. So this idea that like I loved it so much that I was willing to like lose a tooth because I could have gotten out and gotten a job, but then I wouldn't have brought it to the market fast enough for our clinical trial. So
Love that story. That's amazing. Well, I'll tell you, it does make a difference when you're talking to a person.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have a nice smile, it can affect you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's distracting. But going back to the CBIs, now when it comes to your quest for the perfect soulmate, what's your CBI?
Ooh, my commitment's really low right now on that. I have not really been like dating. Do you know what I mean? The last year, we're on a big crossroads for the company, and so my commitment's low. I'd say it's like 3. But like
Okay.
being good for a partner and being good on behalf of myself in the context of dating, I would say is like a 7. My interest is maybe like a 5. That's so basically I'm not loving the idea of dating right now, if that makes sense, because I'm so wrapped up in everything. And I also feel like there's another level I'm going to obtain once we've gone to market that would put me in rooms with the types of people I'm meant to meet that would include someone that would be my soulmate.
Going back to the male improving their ability under Dr. Lucan's definition of being a CBI soulmate.
Yeah.
That might be the name of his next book.
I love it.
The
I'll tell him. He's
CBI
gonna love you.
soulmate. I'm a good labeler.
I love it.
So, what does your perfect soulmate look like
Ooh, okay.
to be the perfect CBI?
The only thing I'm going to tell you, because it's the only thing that matters, is that I'm in a room where we are holding meaningful conversations. It's a networking event. Holding meaningful conversations, each of us, with 2 separate people from across the room. And we're either enhancing our businesses together, we're enhancing human consciousness together, or we're simply holding space for someone that doesn't feel seen. And we lock eyes with across the room and we see each other and we just do that look. And then we meet each other afterwards at the end of the networking event. And that right there is who my soulmate is. And I just haven't met the person that I want to lock eyes with across the room with yet.
Oh, I love that. I think you are a romantic.
Oh, yeah, helplessly, unfortunately. Which is why the whole not dating thing is causing me so much distress right now. I'm like,
but you know, eye contact is everything.
It really
like,
is.
If you don't have good eye contact, you've got nothing.
I
Like,
know
literally.
someone's self-esteem is low when they can't make eye contact.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to feel seen when you don't want to look yourself in the mirror.
But like going back to what Dr. Lucan said and your movement to optimize masculine behavior in the world.
That's a really good way to put it. You're a good labeler.
I'll send you a bill.
Yes.
But you said, all right, so they're not hunting and fishing anymore. They're really taking more of an active role as fathers.
Yes.
They're cooking. They're
holding emotional space for you.
God damn, I mean, they haven't breastfed yet, but but what
I don't know if we want them doing that.
what is the man should today? What should he be doing to be in compliance?
He should be going to hell. He should be sitting with himself, going deep inside and going to the hellish depths of the parts of his soul, the parts of the experience of being a mammal that scare us, fighting with those deep, dark parts of himself and coming back out of it and being the leader that we need him to be. But going to war with himself.
Okay.
So that he can raise up the female consciousness.
But does he? You said, which I found interesting, that the men are the natural leaders. Oh. So does that mean in business? Does that mean in government? Does that mean in romance?
Means for women. It means that she is it. And she needs someone to make space and safety for her to be it. If he's the leader, she's it. And everyone kind of defaults to the word leader being like, oh, that's the end all be all, right? Like that's the most important thing to be in the room as a leader. No, it's to be it. When you walk in the room, you're it. So in the way you see it, the woman is really sort of like the celebrity. The source. And the man is the leader he's the facilitator of her. To support her journey. Yes. So you really. But you need to have a leader. Like my executive assistant is my leader. Okay. Because I don't want to have to think about anything when I walk into that room besides our ultimate goal. And they make sure, Holly, you're going to go here. You're going to go talk to that person. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to get this information. They're leading. They're taking the lead on everything so that I can do what I'm supposed to do, which is just be in that room.
I've seen a lot of reels. You know, I'm like everyone on Instagram a lot, and one of the things I see in a lot of videos is that concept of I feel safe. This is what I've seen on a video.
Yeah.
I feel safe when I don't have to think.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Agreed. I 100% agree. When you can walk into a room and your brain turns off because you know your man is going to make sure, like, when I walk into a room, I figure out the best course of exit if something's going to happen. Every room that I walk into, I do 360 and I figure out, okay, everyone's going to go to that door. I'm going to the back kitchen in this restaurant. You know what I mean? So when I can walk into a room with a man that I can trust to lead us in the midst of chaos, that's the type of man that I want for myself. A man that can lead in the midst of chaos.
That is a more refined definition. So protecting from danger, keeping us safe. Who's in charge of the GPS on the way to an event?
Not me. I'm navigationally challenged. I'm good in the emotional realm. Like I said, truth map, GPS for your mind, but you give me the GPS on Earth and we're screwed.
I'm usually holding the phone and directing. I mean, I would say, I mean, I respect your formula, but I'm fascinated by it because I want to know more. I want to like, does it matter who's cooking? Does it matter who's cleaning? Or are those elements irrelevant to the dynamic?
Irrelevant. It matters
that doesn't matter.
You know what matters? It matters is if he walks into the kitchen and he says, "Sweetie, do you want me to cook dinner tonight?" It's not that he has to, it's that he asks. Because if he has high CBI, then he's on the ball. I think they call it emotional, in the house, they call it emotional labor, right? Like, who's checking if the toilet paper is about to run out in the home, right? So on some level, he likes the fact that he gets to turn his brain off in some ways, right? And that you offer that for him because we're exhausted as a species. I promise you that. We're so much chatter going on up here. And then she wants the same, but it needs to be a balance. And it's been historically more in the realm of the men get to turn their heads off most of the time and the women have to do it. I think when they said that even there's a study, don't quote me on the percentage because I can't remember, but it's something like women, even when they're in REM sleep, are still, their brain activity is still like 60% in comparison to men's 20.
Really?
So even when we're both in REM sleep, like our brains are still going. So there's something to be said about how we've developed. And so I think a man who embodies the definition of a new type of masculine thinks about how much toilet paper rolls are in the house.
This is a whole book.
I know,
the
right?
new masculine.
That's what we're working on. That's
new
the one we're
masculine.
doing next. Yeah.
So
we're thinking about titling the book "Men." Should we raise the bar or hit them over the head with it?
That might be too
I
hard.
know, that was a joke. But
I like it.
We've been shopping around at the office, and everyone thought that was funny.
I like the CBI soulmate or the new masculine.
I like it too.
But
yeah.
I want to know more. Like, what else is the guy that you fall in love with?
What is he like?
What is a day? Like, let's take a Saturday.
Oh, this is now you're gonna make me visualize and manifest. I'm gonna walk through the door a week from now,
know
and I'm gonna get married. Don't make me do it.
This isn't gonna be easy. I mean, you're a behavioral scientist. They got a lot.
Yeah, usually I'm on the other end.
They got to be highly educated.
Yes, that's a big problem. I actually went on a date a couple months ago, and I told my mom, I said, he might be top 2 smartest men I've ever been on a date with in a decade. Smart
what was his
as
degree
me.
in? Did he have a degree?
No, he was just a lobbyist.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was, but I mean, to be a lobbyist, you got to be smart because you got to know people. And so there was this energy about him of understanding of human behavior, but I've never been on a date with someone in my own field. So I don't know what that would be like. Maybe I should. But there aren't a lot of male therapists.
Behavioral scientist, romancearus.com.
What is that? Farmers? What farmers?
Well, did you go on a second date with him?
Yeah, we went on a second date, but it just didn't work out. He was a little younger than me, so then there was that emotional maturity component that you know what? I'll tell you what. I want a man that can teach me some life lessons. I've got a bag of them, and I'm looking for someone that can be like a couple steps ahead of me in some ways, because I want to learn something from someone, and I feel like I'm often educating or imparting wisdom. So they have to be emotionally wise, not just emotionally intelligent.
Absolutely. And not just academically intelligent. I mean,
Yeah.
they can go to the greatest medical school in the world,
And be an idiot.
but if they have a low emotional IQ,
Yep.
that's no fun.
Yes. We say
What
the
a-
same thing in fighting. We call it a fight IQ. You could pack the biggest freaking punch as a heavyweight that you've ever seen. But if you have bad fight IQ to know whether or not you should throw that punch or not in that moment or take him to the ground instead, then you have low fight IQ. We don't want you as a fighter. Because we want you to be smart enough not to just be hot-headed to throw the punch. So exactly, that's it. They don't just have to have the degree or have the ability to talk about books. It's more about like how do you see the world 10 years from now? Are you clocking how humans are developing? Like, are you self-aware? Are you aware of others? How you treat the server? What have you told me about your mom and how you've done that? Like your orientation to your dad. I won't date men that had absent fathers. I cut that off 5 years ago.
Would you date a convicted felon?
It depends, actually. If obviously if they're in jail, no. They've got there was that letter program or whatever you
No,
could
they're
send
out of jail now.
No, they're out of jail.
I wouldn't put you through that.
People can change. People can turn their lives around. If they were, let's say, if they were a public speaker on the motivational speaking circuit track and they had this thing in their past, but this is what they're doing with it now, absolutely, 100%. Because I don't give a crap about societies. I don't give a crap about society's rules, laws. Absolutely not. None of that matters to me.
So you would date a 90-year-old if he looked good for his age?
No. No, because then okay. Because then you fall. Let's say you fall in love with someone that's 90 years old.
Yeah.
He's on his way out of the universe. So I am putting at risk a giant grief and loss damage in a very short span of time. So it's not that it's because it's a 90-year-old. It's that if I fell in love with someone that was 90, I'm also committing to the idea that I'm going to feel a lot of grief in a very short amount of time instead of having a long amount of time with someone to experience that love.
That's actually a really great application of the two-sided bucket.
Yeah.
Because you can make a decision and you can actually, before you make a decision, use the science to think about what is the trauma that's going to result from making this choice.
That's why we call the app, like in one of our bylines, we say this helps you make better decisions, like make better decisions. Should I turn right at this road, right? Like, we call it truth map, and there's so many analogies for it. But this is what I wanted to show you. This is what I believe to be the idea of self-actualization. So this is you at the beginning of your journey and like trying to get to your best self, your highest self up here, and we're the map that helps you get up the road.
I love that. I love that. It's so, well, you got to invite me to your wedding because I want to see who closes the deal with Holly Nelson. Better be a big rock.
I love that you call it that closes the deal because that's such a me thing. Yeah, it's a business transaction.
I'm gonna bring him a trophy to that wedding.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I love it.
A fighter trophy with boxing gloves.
Golden gloves.
So there's a lot of the name of one of your teams is the True Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of the app is the Truth
Map.
Yes. So you're a fan of this word truth. What is truth to you?
Truth is yours. And that's it. I can't put any other words to it because you can't know ultimate truth. I can't know your ultimate truth because I can't be inside your head with you. Your experience, you could have 3 journalists at a car accident scene, and all 3 of them would never, ever in a million years walk away with the exact same story. So truth is yours, and that's why I love the word, because no one can take it from me. No one can see it. It's my beautiful little realm of humanity, and when I go, it goes with me. It's the only thing any of us have. Everything else can be stripped. Your dignity can be stripped from you. Your freedom can be stripped from you. Your joy can be stripped from you. Everything. But our emotional truth can never be taken, no matter what anybody says or does to us. It's ours.
I just got chills when you said that.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't mean to.
I love that. Do you get chills?
All the time. All the time.
Do.
Man, I'm walking around with goosebumps all the time
because
I'm holding conversations like this all the time. I'm just so glad someone got it on camera this time.
That means, do you think a chill means confirmation from the universe
Yeah.
that we're on the right path?
I also think deja vu does. So when you feel deja vu, it means you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be.
Very cool. Um, I mean, like I said, you are such a complex individual. You
My
are,
mom would say
okay?
it with disdain in her voice.
And I mean it as a compliment.
I know.
You really are, have a lot of different interests.
It's the
From,
ADHD.
I mean, we don't normally see the combination of a scientist with a person in the athletic world.
Yeah.
And this athletic world also is in the entertainment space.
Yeah.
So going back to you being the owner of the league for combat, what is your goal? Where do you see this league going?
Yes. I'm so glad you asked that. So right now we're doing a Series A. We're doing a fundraise, $6 million for 8%. That puts us at about 100 something million valuation by the end of 2028. We are hoping to either have an acquisition from one of the leagues that we send fighters to, or one of the talent agent groups that own them. But ultimately, what I'm hoping to do is stay on as like the mission driver for the business, no matter what the business ends up doing, acquisition, merger, whatever. Because I hope to expand internationally and take the Truth Map app with me and start changing male culture one culture at a time by country. Because like I said, how the Asians have a certain type of way that they would make you, they would feel shame or guilt if they didn't take off their shoes. There are so many different definitions of what is masculine in each country, but that doesn't mean that the women and the women aren't suffering, or the men themselves internally aren't suffering from the old school concept of culture. So I'm really hoping to get myself, because of the fame that I know this type of entertainment company will bring, get myself into rooms I had no business getting into without the concept of that behind me. Ultimately, I want to go and work with the United Nations and translate the Truth Map app into multiple languages and just change the human psyche, one heart and mind at a time. So that's the whole plan for the business.
And do you perceive that to be your true purpose? I love that.
There's no way I go to the grave without it.
And do you think it is that trauma that triggered this entire journey to this mountain?
Yeah.
So you turned your pain into a positive way to help the world.
I channeled the pain into helping others with theirs.
And do you agree that when you go through an adversity like that, a trauma like that, and you turn it into something positive, a movement, that every time you take an action that advances that purpose, you're also healing the pain?
Oh yeah, because you at least have something tangible, right? And if you get hurt and you can go and hurt others, or you can get hurt and you go heal others. There's no other thing, I guess, like, except for inaction, which is you get hurt and you sit and you stew. But that ends up hurting others because you're removing your love from the world, So I'm hoping that I help people figure out how to turn their hurt into healing for them first, and then anybody else they come in contact with until their life is over.
I absolutely admire that. It's really, like you said, there's only two choices, and I believe that you went with the path of love and continuing to show love to others and want to help elevate their psyche so that they can thrive in the world and be successful.
Thrive, that's the right word, thrive. Yeah. I don't want people to just live or exist. I want them to learn how to thrive.
There's no question that your career as a behavioral scientist really is the 100% right career. That's like, because it's in total alignment with your purpose. You have the scientific knowledge to help that purpose. So so what type of doctor is
Dr. Lukens?
Yes.
Clinical psychologist.
So how do your two worlds fuse, with you being the behavioral scientist, him being the clinical psychologist? How do those two worlds perfect each other?
It's like it's like a surgeon has their surgical tech,
Okay.
scalpel. You know what I mean? Like cautery. Without the surgical tech, the surgeon can't do his job because he'd be scrambling looking for his tools, and surgery is time sensitive. You can only have a person under anesthesia for so long. So I'm his surgical tech. So he's been put on this planet to heal the world. He's like a Gabor Mate or another, that's what I'm hoping to make him publicity-wise. But Gabor Mate was put on this planet to teach people emotional wisdom and love. So is Dr. Lukens. And those men always need, or women of that magnitude always need that right-hand person. And so that is how I'm the behavioral scientist because I got the technical know-how. I got the skill and I understand the tools. Like, he's an older gentleman. He didn't know how to build an app. But he had this concept for an idea. He needed a book published, and I knew how to bring it to the masses. So I would consider myself a surgical tech.
I think I'm going to respectfully say that I think your title is higher.
No, of course.
But
Yeah,
I want a more.
I would consider, but I would consider
you're brilliant.
like a surgical resident underneath him or whatever. But still, all I needed you to explain, all you wanted me to explain was the difference. Yeah,
right. But
I'm not the surgeon.
Right.
I've been taught the skills from the surgeon.
Sure.
And so now it's my job to make sure the surgeon is supported in his surgery of the world. And when he goes, I will assume surgery.
How old is Dr.?
He's in his 70s, late 70s.
Okay. Is he married, by the way?
Yeah.
Not that I'm interested. I'm just
she's a therapist as well, actually. Yeah.
So they're happily married?
Yes, they've been married for like 20 years now, and they got 2 kids. And
nice.
They're like a second set of parents to me.
That's amazing. I love. I mean, the relationship between the two of you and how you're on this journey together, healing the world and collaborating on tech and apps and helping the athletes and really helping everybody in the world. Everybody is going to benefit by this collaboration. And whose idea was it to build this partnership between you?
Well, it really just started off with him needing someone to help him publish the book. And then, honestly, I read chapter 1 of the book. I hadn't even read the first half of the manuscript yet, just chapter 1. We had a meeting in his office a couple days later, and I literally walk in, I go, Dr. L, I don't know what I'm feeling right now. That chapter blew my mind. It was like I went on an ayahuasca trip, but I was sober reading that book. He just gets up, he goes to the whiteboard, and he writes one word, profundity. What you're feeling is the sense of profound. Because what I just said in that first chapter clicked about who you are and what your purpose is on this planet and why you're here and why life exists and the answer to everything. And I got that from chapter 1. And it was an analogy about fish. He talks about, remember I spoke earlier about language. He goes, water is to fish as language is to humanity. We don't have consciousness and self-recursivity and understanding without language. Otherwise, we are just the animals who have communication, but don't have the ability to sit and think about themselves. They just do. And we can sit and think. So then we have to sit and think about what the purpose of the planet is, the purpose of our lives are, and the universe, and all of that. And we create gods. We create universes. We create aliens. And we create. And you just go through life for so long, no one ever really teaches you that, except for if you maybe grow up in a church, but then you sometimes question that. And so it was an incredible sense of my mind just opened up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm a living human being. And I'm now self-aware that I'm a living human being, and now I got a lot of work to do.
Forgive me if I already asked this, but how did you meet Dr. L?
Through a friend of ours who knew that I was doing consulting, and because I was doing book publishing consulting at the time, business consulting, and specifically, I was trying to convince people in 2014, 2015 that they needed a Facebook page for their company. Because Meta was Facebook then, had just launched the ad platform. So I was doing consumer behavior, book publishing, and business consulting at the time. So she introduced us because he needed someone to help him with his manuscript. And the book is called The Physics of Emotioning. We've got volume 1 out already. We're going to do volume 2, but the Truth Map app is essentially my translation of a high-level theoretical work with verbiage that the culture can understand. So that's why we made the app, is we needed to make this accessible, but it needs, when it comes to theoretical work in psychology and stuff like that, and philosophy, it needs to be challengeable by higher education. So it needs to be written in such a way that the masses don't understand it. And I was like, okay, well, this is beautiful. I love it. I can understand it. But the average Joe's not going to be able to, and they need to know what this is all about, like how to fix their self-esteem. You know, they don't have time to sit and read a whole chapter on philosophical work on the underpinnings, the ontological underpinnings of self-worth. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why we made Truth Map, is we wanted to make it accessible to the masses.
That's fantastic. It sounds like it's going to be an incredible tool.
Thank you.
That's really going to transform the world. What will this be? A monthly subscription type of app?
Yeah, and we're also looking to go county to county to get things covered by grants and local government, municipalities. I'm also in talks with Kaiser University to give it to all of the students. So we're looking to work with higher education to give it away for free, have them buy it in bulk, right? A subscription in bulk for their students and or organizations, companies, football teams, the NFL, like all of that. I'm really hoping that I can just get large institutions to buy it at a package rate for fans, athletes, students, that kind of thing. That's the business model I'm trying to transition to in for the year. But yeah, it's monthly subscription yearly on the App Store.
It's amazing how your scientific background and then the masters in leadership and your savvy in business is just, it's really just an incredible combination of skills.
My parents thought I was crazy doing all these things. They're like, you're throwing spaghetti against the wall trying to see what sticks. And I'm like, I just don't know where I'm supposed to be. And then I realized where I was supposed to be, and everything made sense to support where I was at. You know, it's like, okay, now that's why I went there, and that's why I did that. And this is the degree that I got, because I could have done this, you know? So, gosh, the only thing left is for me to go to law school.
There you go. You'll probably figure out how to do that using AI, knowing you.
Not gonna lie to you, my lawyers hate me. They're, you know, like when you go into a doctor's office and it's like, okay, you know, but WebMD says.
Oh.
And I talk to my lawyers and I'm like, so here's where we're at. Florida statute, you know, number 82 says this person can't. You know, like,
Oh, we love when our clients.
I know, right? I know,
those
that's why I said they hate
No,
me.
but that's I mean, listen, there's nothing better than an educated client. You know, it's wonderful. But it's amazing, like how many different passions you have. Now, you also love being a speaker?
Yes, yeah, I'm working
Have
on
you?
that.
Incredible. Have
Yeah,
we
I've
written our book yet?
Have I what?
Have you written a book yet?
I have a manuscript that I'm working on.
Of course you do.
Yes, I know. But the reason I hadn't launched or like published the book was I had sat on it. I didn't know what the title was for a very long time. I didn't like the title I had, and then it came to me a couple of weeks ago, actually, after an experience that I'll probably unpack with you on another podcast once I've processed it.
Sure.
But the book title is Out of the Ashes of Unjust Fires. And it's how to raise yourself up out of what you consider a traumatizing experience you should never have had or ever had to go through. So people that had abusive parents, or people that have self-esteem damage at the hands of an abusive partner, or were raped, or were bullied growing up. It's a book, it's a tangible book on how to not cope, but process and move through.
I love that. I mean, I think everybody needs that, and it's just totally in alignment with your purpose, and that's amazing. And speaking of your parents, I read that you grew up, you were a translator at the age of 13, and your parents were in Haiti.
Yes, so my parents are both from America. My dad was from Long Island, and my mom was from upstate, and they both moved to Haiti in the middle of the 80s with separate mission nonprofit organizations. And then there was like a Christmas potluck, and they ended up together meeting each other and getting married and having me. They made sure to come back to America so that I had an American passport. We moved back when I was 30 days old. And then I lived in Haiti, Léogâne, specifically. It's a small fishing village. And then a couple years in America for my dad to get his pastoral degree. And then back to the Dominican Republic, where we did a medical nonprofit. So we did handicapped orphanages, feeding programs, surgical teams where we would bring American doctors to the DR, medical clinics, and sponsorship schools. So I was translating for doctors as young as 13. I was in those ORs, and I was running OR schedules at 15, just like my mom's little protege, you know what I mean?
How did it feel having so much responsibility?
I didn't know it was responsibility at the time. It was life. It was I was homeschooled, and it was just that's it. You know, you okay. We got a team coming in next week, Holly. So make sure you do some extra social studies chapters this week, and then I just go with my mom and my dad, and he would run the operations, and I'd help translate in the clinics, and it was
From Creole to English?
yep, and Spanish.
You're fluent in Creole and Spanish?
Not anymore. I've lost it a lot,
Okay.
but I am fluent in Spanish now. My Creole is more medical Creole, if that makes sense, instead of conversational. But allá me llaman la gratina, porque parezco como una gringa, pero yo soy latina, tú sabes, en el corazón. So my nickname there is Grati. So they named me Gratina, Gringa Latina.
That is, your accent's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Mine is very bad.
No,
very
it's
bad.
not. I doubt it.
Hola. Hablas
Okay,
español.
okay,
No, all right.
maybe.
I can say Puerto Rico. I just
There
went
you
to
go.
But no, you seriously have an amazing accent.
Thank you.
How did all that travel and learning all those languages change your view of the world?
Ooh, okay. This is my favorite question you've asked me because I went to an international baccalaureate school. I got a 3-year scholarship to do 8th, 9th, and 10th grade when I was there after my whole life being homeschooled. And it required an essay to get into the program. And I remember writing, and my mom was so proud of me for this sentence. As the daughter of 2 missionaries, I have experienced so much because it's an international baccalaureate program, so much international exposure that I can tolerate dissimilar viewpoints. And apparently they loved that. That I was that I that I started my whole essay off with. You should have me there because I can put up with people's bullshit, basically. And my mom was like, I don't know if I should keep that in. And I was like, Mom, I want it in there. And apparently it was a statement that got me in the scholarship.
Wow.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, if the world's a stage, there's a lot of bullshit on stage.
That's
'Cause it's
amazing.
acting.
And obviously that obviously affected your desire to think about becoming a doctor because you were around all those doctors and traveling.
Yeah, exactly. It almost felt like, oh, well. But then I think one of the things, and this is something I recently brought up in therapy myself, was I think when I got to the point where I could get into medical school and go, I'm like, I've already had a medical degree or medical career for a decade.
I'm 17.
Maybe I'm tired of it. You know? I'm a 17-year-old doctor. I'm exhausted.
Yes, dwelling. It's too much already.
It's too much. I've already done it. I'm retiring. I just need a nice little house on Long Island. We'll be good.
So where are your mom and dad today?
They're in Palm City, so it's like the Martin County area outside of Palm Beach County. I haven't ventured too far from them. You know, I'm really close to my parents. So my mom, she had stage 4 lymphoma last year, and it was good though that wasn't too far away because I could take care of her. Cancer-free now, and back on her feet. She broke her back in 6 places too, on top of everything. Last year was a disaster of a year, but like I said, everything is back to normal. I'm just happy I didn't live so far, you know?
Yeah, thank God you were able to be there for her, support her. That's amazing that you're so close with them. That's really amazing. And your dad was a pastor?
Yeah.
Still a pastor?
Yes, he's an assistant pastor. He's also an accountant. So he does that Monday through Friday. But we still have the nonprofit. So instead of living there and having doctors come visit us, we all 3 of us take turns traveling in with a team. So my mom works full-time. She's a nurse practitioner with Cleveland Clinic. He's an accountant and a pastor. And then I obviously have a lot going on. So we do about 4 to 6 teams a year, and we all rotate. One of us goes down into the country and then we have a team in the Dominican Republic of Dominican operations crew that help us run a week-long medical or surgical mission.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
How many hours a night do you sleep?
Like 4 or 5.
You don't need a lot of sleep?
I don't think I have a choice. I think I want to sleep, but I'm driven.
I hope you catch up on Sundays and like sleep till 5.
Yes, those are sacred. Sundays are sacred for sure. We all nap on the Sunday afternoon.
Now, are you an only child, siblings?
No, I have 2 younger brothers. Ryan lives up in Tampa, and Eric lives in the Port St. Lucie area. Eric is a cybersecurity professional for Cleveland Clinic, so he's making sure everyone's HIPAA is not violated. And then Ryan does project management for multifamily housing up in St. Pete.
That's incredible. So you're all that. I mean, you had a very unusually colorful childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, you traveled the world, learned different languages, And all three of you sound like you turned out great. So congrats to
There's
mom and dad.
we're a little damaged in some areas. But you know who isn't? You get a little battered and bruised when you live in a third world country, that's for sure. But no, for the most part, we've fared pretty well, and I would say we're very lucky as a family too. My parents are still together, which is a lot that a lot of children can't say, you know, even as adults.
Do you think that experience of living in a third world country made you the woman warrior that you are today?
Yes, but I also can trace my genetic lineage back to a Viking group that was known for Valkyries, which is the female warriors in the Viking community. So there's something to be said about experience and genetics that kind of has put me in this unique position to be a woman that is a fighter, you know?
And has being a woman in a traditionally predominantly male industry of athleticism been difficult?
No, not at all. They love me. They call me MMA Barbie. I think they all just like the breath of fresh air of having to do business now with a woman. No, I've never had any pushback. Like, what they would do to me is what they would have done to a male promoter. You know, like they don't treat me any differently and they don't treat me any better. They, I've had no issues actually. It's been very interesting.
And like with the I know you have 16 teams. Is there one particular team that's closest to your heart right
It would
now?
be the one. It would be the first one, my first promotion in Michigan, Total Warrior. It was the thing that started it all, you know. So it's going to be my flagship. But I don't think I'm going to sell the license to that one. I think I'm going to be the owner of it specifically, and then sell the other 15 licenses to other people, because that one just meant it was the impetus for my life path.
What's a day in the life like of owning this
I call my
enterprise?
So I call myself, I say, all the time on phone calls, I always say, I'm actually not a fight promoter, I'm a firefighter. So I'm just putting out fires left, right, and center all day long. You could plan, you could plan, you could plan, you could plan, and then a fight falls through. Or like you got a guy fight, I got insurance, everything's fine, he gets his jaw broken. Okay, you know, not a big deal, it's all covered by insurance, gets surgery. Then a month later, nobody saw the piece of mail from the insurance company asking for explanation of benefits. Because of that, then the medical is trying to sue him, and now I'm having to figure out how to support him. Like that's just the day in the that was like a Tuesday a couple weeks ago.
So helping the daily lives of the fighters as
Yeah.
they navigate. So are you scheduling the fights for the team?
Yes, yes. I take care of everything. I do all the licenses. I schedule it all. I do the marketing, the promoting. I have a team that I just delegate everything to, and we have a core operational team. Right now, what I'm doing is building out a core operational team for each team, so that like you know, it's not my backroom guy that does all 16 back rooms for each fight. He'd be exhausted. Now I'm having him train a guy for this team, a guy for this team, and so that's what's happening over the next 6 months. Is that we're raising the round, we're hiring and scaling each state or city or region, so that it's like a copy paste of everything.
Until you find one or multiple investors to invest in this vision, are you self-funding the operation?
Yeah, I have been for 3 years, and but that comes down to me selling sponsorship space, like you know, slapping someone's logo on the cage pad, etc. I raised some angel investment early on, and stretched that runway the way that I can. But we just recently, a couple months ago, closed Jeff Hoffman as our lead advisory board member. He's the founder of Booking.com, Priceline.com, and like I said, I brought him to the Domination Conference to speak. So great that they were able to get him up on stage. And so he'll be helping lead the round, and we're going to go. What we're thinking is right now we've got 2 investors that are interested. We're doing $6 million for 8%, but the state of Florida has this special branch for companies that they're trying to attract to reincorporate in the state of Florida, and they have a special branch for sports and entertainment. So if we can raise even just $4 million, they'll match up to 4.
Wow.
The state of Florida specifically, and we're incorporated in another state. We're an international, so we're going to come to Florida if we can raise the 4 and get Florida to match that. So,
Are you currently headquartered in Florida?
yes, we're headquartered in Florida, but we're not incorporated here.
What city?
What city? Oh, West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach?
Yeah. We're my home office.
I love it. So where does some of the, what's the next event coming up if
Yes.
you have one?
So we're working on 2 events with the Club 11 and with the Gulfstream Park Casino as well. We had an event that we were putting on for last year called Pegasus and the Dragon. And because there's a statue at the Gulfstream Park, I don't know if you know it.
Yes.
Did you see it? Yeah.
I still live right near there.
It represents good versus evil, and I was like, it's only you versus you in the cage. This is a great concept. And then Hurricane Hilton and or Milton and Helene hit, so we had to reschedule it for this year. So we're working on getting dates for those 2 events. So I have no dates yet to promote, but you can check it out online.
I can't wait to go.
Yes. Oh, you've got cage side. Are you kidding me?
Seriously?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. You're joking?
I'm so excited.
You can bring a whole crew.
Do I get my,
We'll do a backstage interview too together. That'll be so much fun.
I would be honored. That would be amazing.
I love it.
Amazing.
Yay.
I've actually never done an interview at an athletic event.
Oh, well, there you go. First time.
Well, actually, at the Heat game once, I interviewed a 10-year-old.
Really? That counts. That still counts.
I turned him into a little broadcaster.
I'm trying to get Jeff to bring Shaquille O'Neal to my next fight. Do you want to interview Shaquille? If I could get him there, do you want to interview him?
100%. Listen, I love to interview. That would be
huge.
That
right?
would be life-changing, but I love to interview everyone and just love people. So that would be incredible.
Yay. Okay. Well,
so what does a journalist wear to an event of this
I was
type?
about to say, you're in my brand colors right now.
Hello.
That's kind of meant to be, actually.
Wow.
So you got to wear red.
Okay. That's my favorite color.
I love it. Good. I always wear pink because I'm MMA Barbie.
Okay. Hot pink is my other
favorite color. I know you were
color.
in the pink suit when I first met you, and I loved it.
There you go. I mean, that's amazing. So, I mean, the type of people that you must, I mean, to have Jeff Hoffman, who I had the honor of having a selfie with, thanks to you.
Yeah.
So thank you for introducing such an extraordinary entrepreneur to the conference. That was amazingly super generous of you to do that.
Oh, of course.
And how do you, I mean, how did you cross paths with Jeff Hoffman? How did that
I
even
don't cross
happen?
paths with anybody. I set my sights out intentionally for specific types of connections. And if you were to go into my office right now, there's a giant map on my wall with a picture of everyone I've met, let's say in the last 3 months, with string and note cards, who they are and who I think they need to meet, how I can add value with them, who they are, and maybe I haven't met them, and they're 2 degrees of freedom away from this person that I know, and how to work my way into meetings with the people that I need to be in the rooms with in order to accomplish what I need to accomplish. So like I caught wind that Jeff Hoffman used to corner Evander Holyfield, is the guy that Mike Tyson bit the ear off of back in the day. And I found out through one of my co-producers through an online TV show that we're working on, a streaming platform TV show in MMA, that he knew him. And so I asked for the meeting, and he put us together on a Zoom call, and the rest is history. Jeff is probably one of the most down-to-earth billionaires you'll ever meet in your entire life. I joked the other day, I was like, he shows up in khakis and a nice little button-down shirt. You would never known that he was a multi-billionaire, and he just he'll hold conversations with anyone at the conference room. He doesn't like hoard himself off and keep himself away from people. Just very humble man. So when I find out that there's someone that will plug into an endeavor that I'm working on, it also matters who they are character-wise, integrity-wise too. So I also try to people map according to their intention and their integrity.
Well, I got chills again when you talked about your people map.
My people map.
I'm coming to the home office. I'm inviting myself. Yes. I want to take, because as a connector, that being one of my purposes, that just sings to me to hear you say that you're so intentional.
I want an app that helps me do it. Because it's not like a CRM, right? It's not like a CRM where it's like put their name and their phone number and a little note about it. I want a visual, like a drag and drop string thing. We might have to commission it because that's...
Let's create it together.
Let's do it.
Want to collaborate?
God. Yes, you're going to have to come up with the name though.
Oh, I've got it.
Because you got the name.
Well, speaking of connection, I always tell people what the number of people it took me to get to them.
That's so great.
And I call it levels.
Oh, I love that.
So I also have the law of acknowledgement. How did I meet you? So I want to acknowledge David Hirschfeld
Yes.
from Biohack Yourself Media.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because we became friends. He came into the studio. Okay, so in order to meet
Me.
you,
Okay.
I had to meet David.
Okay.
In order to meet David, I had to become business partners with Zohair, who invited
I
David.
loved him too. I met
Isn't
him.
he
He's so
amazing?
Sweetie.
Then in order to meet Zohair, I had to meet Mike Owen of Alpha Connector.
Ah.
In order to meet Mike Owen of Alpha Connector, I had to meet Chris White and go to a party at the Hard Rock.
Ah.
In order to get to that party at Chris White,
Yeah.
I had to meet Ivan Perez, a real estate developer that I met in a hole-in-the-wall Peruvian restaurant, hearing him talk about $200 million real estate. In order to meet Ivan Perez, I had to get a job at Major Peruis.
Oh, that's crazy.
In order to get the job at Major Peruis, I had to marry my ex-husband, Alan Greenstein, because Scott Major was the mediator. And in order to meet Alan Greenstein, my mother connected us through the Jewish Journal. So you're a level 9.
Wow.
You're a level 9.
Do you have like a scoreboard of like how deep it goes? And like you should rank your connections. Like she hit 9. Who's gonna beat her?
There may be one more, but I think I got them all. I think you're a 9. I mean, I think you're
crazy.
a 10.
No,
but
of course.
you're a technical level 9. But yeah, like the app could be about that,
Yeah.
where I love that people mapping concept.
Yep, exactly.
So you definitely have a talent in connecting to people with intention.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I've actually been more of, I go with the flow, whoever the universe puts in my path. Like, for example, you know, I'm so thankful I got to meet you and we're friends now.
Yeah.
And that led to me having the honor of interviewing you. But you are much more, you're more thoughtful, more. So
Thank you.
who's the next person you want to meet?
Ooh, I don't even know if I sat down with my own self to figure this out.
It's not on the board in the office?
Well, no, not yet. Right now, I mean, someone that I've been trying to get connected to for about 2 years would be, oh man, this is so tough. I didn't even review this before I came here. Someone that is very, very, very high level, I don't think it's going to take place for another 3 years, is Venus and Serena Williams, because they're investors in women's sports. And I think potentially having them on my board would be very beneficial, as I could get them as advisors as well. So they've been on the board for a while. And Aiden Ross is someone that I'm looking to meet too, because he's in combat sports now and has that big podcast. And then Jake Paul is someone that I have. I'll tell you a funny story about Jake Paul. I tracked him down and gave him a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue Label with my phone number, and it said, "Hey, I own a fight league, I want to talk." But I don't think he ever opened the bottle because no one ever gave me a call. But he's another person I would like to get in a room with, because I think we have similar understandings of how to treat the fighters. They deserve healthcare. They deserve financial freedom. They deserve to be treated and paid with respect, you know? So
I love that hustle. Did you know that he drank Johnny Walker? He's a fan of that?
No, that's my calling card. I did the same thing with Mayweather. Yeah, a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue Label for anybody I'm trying to get in front of.
So that's your signature.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that. And did you meet Floyd previously,
I did.
or just this past weekend?
No, I met him at, you remember the event with John Gotti, where there was the whole stampede? I was ringside. I almost got run over. Like some guy jumped over the seat behind me, and then I stumbled, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was there when they all stormed the ring. Yeah, at the end of it. It was crazy. So one of the guys, my operations guy rents out rings and cages to a bunch of promoters and stuff up and down the East Coast. His name is Israel. I couldn't do fights without that man. And he rented the ring for the John Gotti Mayweather fight, so that's how I met him.
That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah. So here we are.
So any celebrity crushes?
Oh my God! Don't you ask me that. No, don't ask me that, because I'm not gonna. I can't answer it.
I know not George Clooney, right?
No. I really don't have any.
So who would you pick, George Clooney or Brad Pitt? I know they're not available.
George Clooney.
You would
refined.
You would go for George over Brad?
Yes, he's a refined
Seriously?
gentleman. You're shaming me for my.
No. Definitely not. I'm just fascinated. I'm fascinated.
I will tell you my celebrity crush. You probably don't know him though. He's like an up and coming actor. His name is Brock O'Hearn, and he looks like a giant 6'7" Tarzan.
So you like tall.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
Well, what athlete have you met that your heart stopped and you were almost nervous meeting them?
I don't get starstruck.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you. I don't think I've ever met anyone that was okay. Not okay. I not like oh I'm like enamored or whatever. But I'm a big giant fan of stand-up comedy. Like such a huge fan. You have no idea. So I've got a lot of comedy friends. But Bert Kreischer is like my favorite comedian of all time, and I got to meet him at a comedy festival last year. And then built a rapport with him and his wife Leanne, and they're beautiful people. So when I met Bert, I like forgot my name.
There we go. Are you also a comedian?
No, I'm just funny. I call myself a freelance comedian.
I love
it's
that.
the only industry I haven't started making money in yet, but it's my place. It's my place of refuge and respite from the sports and entertainment community. You know.
Have you ever dated a comedian?
No, but I would.
So just quick funny story. When I was going to NYU, we went to a comedy club in New York City, and the comedian started to pick on me. I was wearing all black, and he goes, "All black, the traditional NYU cheerleader uniform." And he was very cute, and he asked me on a date, and he was so funny on stage. But then when we went out for coffee, he was ridiculously boring.
That's intriguing. Okay, here's Dr. Lukett's take on the behavior behind why someone wants to become a comedian. He told this to me once, it blew my mind. And he goes, a comedian becomes a comedian not because they're funny and they want to capitalize on it, but they become a comedian because they want love. They want to be loved by people, but they're too afraid to let them in, so they have to be loved by the masses who will never truly know who they are. And the best way into someone's heart is joy, making them laugh. So comedians go on stage for love, but then they don't really want to let anybody in. So his funny is motivated by the hundreds of people in the room. His funny wasn't motivated by the one-on-one.
Interesting. That definitely applies there.
Yeah, for sure. Some comedians go in it for the right reasons, but just like any other career, some people don't.
Where do you get the courage and the confidence that you have?
Delusion. I think I'm crazy. No, I don't know. I just show up. Dr. Lucas helped me lean into my confidence, you know. I had the potential there, that raw potential, but if I wasn't, you're not walking the right life path, there's no reason to be confident in what you're doing. So I'm still having to work through things like being on camera is tough, and I'm starting to realize, like I went to a red carpet event the other day and I had no control over the pictures. You know what I mean? Like they're all over Getty Images.
Oh,
and,
yeah,
exactly.
That's not fun, right?
I know. I'm like, oh my God, my chin. I'm like calling a plastic surgeon now. But then no, I just do husa. You're beautiful. You're showing up in the world the way you're supposed to. And if you're gonna do 60 plus years of public life, then you've got to let it go. So I just don't watch anything anymore.
I'm with you on that. Like we can be so self-critical of ourselves, but
I was talking to Jeff Hoffman's girlfriend the other day about this at the Domination Conference. We took the picture and I showed her. I was like, "Is everything okay?" She's like, "Holly, Jeff gets taken. We get asked to take pictures everywhere all the time." She goes, "I had to realize the other day, or a couple months ago, I have to just let it go." She says, "And what I realized is I looked back at a picture of me from the 1990s, and I remember thinking how fat I thought I was then, and now I'm looking back and I'm like, God, I was beautiful." She's like, "So if that's how I felt, and I'm probably 10 years from now, I'm going to look at this picture between you and I right now and think that I looked great." So she said, "I had to let it go," and I was like, I needed to hear that from you. I needed to hear that.
Absolutely. It's always, the look back view is always ultimate.
Lens.
I think I just did that the other day. When I'm scrolling through Facebook, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That was me? No way.
Yeah.
But no, that's amazing. And what's your advice to entrepreneurs that want to aspire to your level of connection? Because you do have a tremendous network, and you also do a lot of live streaming, and you're constantly conveying your message. What's your number one piece of business advice at this point in your journey?
um, to be honest with you, walk into a room and make people laugh. People want to spread joy, and if you bring it to them, they'll connect you. Have a mission. Don't just go in there like just don't just walk in because you want to have a famous network. Of course, like have a reason for why you're building a network around you of people like of that magnitude, you know. And most people do. If it's not an entrepreneur, usually they have a mission. But I would say really just cultivate connection authentically and bringing someone a smile. I think that that's what's been my biggest weapon is coming in and cracking a joke, and the next thing you know, everyone's like, "Oh, I really thought you were just some blonde that walked in the room," and I'm over here like with self-deprecating humor, and it works, like that kind of thing. So, be a comedian.
I love that. I also have my law of dance. I did a
Oh,
lot of dancing at
I
the
was about to
Domination
tell you,
Conference.
I did dancing. I did dance salsa with Saher.
Did you?
Yes, I did. And I wrongly assumed you wouldn't know how to do it because I'm like, mostly white men don't. So I had to teach him a little salsa before. And he was like, my wife is Latina. You have to understand. I know what I'm doing. They start spinning me around. And yeah, it was great.
Shout out to Zohair.
Yes, I love him.
That's amazing. And Zohair and Mike are two of my strategic business partners, along with Chris White with the Wiser Company. We've gotten some really amazing sponsors for the Laws of Life, like Mark Siegel. He's come every Tuesday to my Tuesday talk show. He's never missed a Tuesday in 6 years.
Wow, that's commitment.
And I've been blessed. Like currently I have a really good circle of strategic partners that I really trust and love. Of course, in the past, I've also been burned by bad partners.
Yeah. Same.
What do you look for in a partner, business-wise?
Good question. A referral from someone that they've worked with. And usually when I go to networking events like this, if you've been introduced to me by someone that I already have rapport, then I don't need that referral. I've already you kind of endorsed for me. 2, that we have the same vision for the world, not just the same vision for whatever the business endeavor would be. And 3, that they're not a wet blanket. Because we're supposed to have fun. Business is not supposed to be arduous. It should be, we're on the playground of life. I got 60 years left, 70 years left maybe. I want to have fun doing business with you. I want to have fun getting on a podcast with you. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So those are my 3.
I love that.
Thank you
so much.
I feel so like pumped up after this podcast today.
Good. I'm glad.
I love it. You're my new hype woman.
All right. Maybe, you know what? I can also MC the fight for you, too.
I love that idea.
I
We're
get
gonna do
fired
post-fight interview
up.
with the fighters.
Oh
my goodness. I'll get you out there with the ring girls. This will be so much fun.
Hello.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, I'll get that crowd fired up.
Yes.
I'll take on one of your fighters, too.
Oh, my God. We could do something during intermission. That would be funny. I always love to have a good time at my fights. It's a big circus for me.
It sounds amazing. I can't wait to experience one of your events. Like, I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm excited. Good.
Even though I have zero athletic skill, I appreciate
I won't actually
sports.
make you go toe to toe with one of my heavyweights, I promise.
Well, you have women and men on the team, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I could take one of the women.
I love it. You don't even want to go against my heavyweights there either.
I love it. Let me just check because this has been an amazing conversation. I have learned so much.
Yeah.
Do you think everybody needs therapy, or can some of us get away without it?
God, no. I think I'd make a terrible sitting president of the United States. I'd force everyone to go see a therapist. I'd be like, nope.
So you think everyone can benefit?
Yes, because even if you're not like going through something traumatic, you learn things. You're gonna learn something. You don't walk away from something like that without learning.
What's the number one thing you learned from Dr. L?
Oh, that's so hard to rank. The fucking bucket analogy.
What's the number one thing you've learned from Jeff Hoffman?
When you reach a roadblock, build a new road. That's why we have booking.com and priceline.com, and that's because of intellectual property rights and international naming, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I can't do Priceline.com out of the States, Booking.com."
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a rose by any name smells as sweet?
I don't even know what that means. People say that all the time. I still don't understand it.
Well, it's sort of
Sometimes
like,
American colloquialisms go right over my head.
no, I mean, the way I look at, like what Jeff Hoffman did by, he used,
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
like you could open a marketing firm and call it Strawberry.
Yeah.
Does it really matter what you call something as long as it's called something?
Well, it doesn't exist in the human psyche if it doesn't have a label.
But does the label even
Doesn't
matter?
matter. I would say sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the situation. Because then if we can't communicate about the thing because we both have different words for it, then, but if we can both point to it, you know what I mean? So it depends. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think is the number one adversity, aside from what we've discussed in business, that you've survived?
I would say the trauma from my rape. But then aside from that, I would say just getting out of my own head about my value and realizing that I have something to share with the world. And looking at myself in the mirror a couple of years ago when I was just doing business consulting and wasn't really adding value to humanity at that point, but had done it my whole life growing up, that I was being very selfish by not leaning into my powers, becoming a public speaker, championing a business that was meant to change the world, that kind of thing. I was being selfish by holding back messages that I knew I had in my heart for others because I was scared. And that was me looking myself in the mirror and saying, wow, I'm an asshole for not sharing this message with people because they're going to go to the grave never knowing their true worth because I was too frightened to go out in the world and tell them. So kind of just being like, okay, get your together, Holly. Like, you know?
Well, that's a very, very powerful law of life that just resonated inside my heart because sometimes it's difficult to share a difficult trauma and the story that you learn from it because you're almost saying, maybe I could have done something better, or maybe, almost sometimes, even in my own story, it took me a couple of years to want to open up about it because I was embarrassed by it because it wasn't perfect. How do you, in your capacity as a behavioral scientist, what's your advice to people about how to own a story, even when it's not the prettiest?
Ooh, how to own a story. Learn how to dance with shame. It's not going anywhere. So you might as well hoe down, throw down with it. Like, grab it by the elbow and say, all right, you're here to stay. It doesn't matter. We're dancing in the room together. That's the truth.
Do you think that being authentic is being vulnerable?
Yeah. Being vulnerable is being able to say, I'm feeling embarrassed about my message publicly. Like, I'm still not over it yet, The vulnerability is very powerful.
One of my purposes is community empowerment and utilizing media and entertainment to connect the world. How can our audience watching support you in achieving your dreams?
Okay. One, we have a launch list for the TruthMap app. So you just go to the website, truthmap.us, and put your email in, and we'll send you, when it's launched, a link for them to download it on the App Store. We've got a bunch of content on there too, so they can go read some stuff. If you're someone that's philosophically inclined, you can buy the book, Dr. Lucan's first volume. That would be at thephysicsofemotioning.com. You can buy that. And then if you're in the South Florida area, you can come to one of my fights. So you go to thencl.co, and that is where you can put your email in for a notification when our next fight date is. And then they can grab tickets.
Absolutely. When we're going to put all those details in the notes of this video so that everybody out there can support you.
Yay.
Because you are an extraordinary Renaissance woman.
Thank you.
Of many talents.
Thank you.
Many, many. Now, what is your reality show going to be about?
Ooh, okay. So we're working on something right now where it's a mix of behind the scenes of like what it's like to run a fight promotion.
Wow.
Yeah, they're gonna follow me around. There's drama. There's so much drama in combat sports. You have no idea.
Really?
There's like high stakes. Like, oh my gosh, a sponsor just pulled out last minute, and I still have to pay the venue. Like, just problem solving. Fighters not doing what they're needing to do. Them not, like it's the whole thing. But that'll be in and out of the focus of the show, which is two former UFC Hall of Famers that are like retired MMA fighters, are coaches of 8 guys, and then we pit the teams against each other, and whichever team at the end of the season wins a big grand prize. And we'll have celebrity athlete judges, and then we'll have comedians. So we have a pretty big comedian named Brian Callen who's agreed to host it. And then we'll have like a new celebrity co-host comedian every episode to like crack jokes and stuff like that. So it'll be a cutaway to the behind the scenes, and then showcasing what it's like to go through a full season as an athlete to try and make it to the major leagues.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, it's called Fightville.
Wow.
I know, I'm so excited.
Have you started to film it yet?
No, we wouldn't start filming it to the fall, but we finally just got a streaming platform that I'm not allowed to say yet to pick it up. So we're now in pre-production, and it's going to be huge. It's so funny to me that like I don't feel like, I know I'm not famous yet, right? But after that, that's going to completely change the game. Wow. Like, because that's going to be on a major platform. So I'm actually really nervous about it.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Oh my gosh, you're gonna have the time of your life.
Yeah, it's
Are you
gonna
gonna be in the drama too?
Oh yeah, they're following me around.
So when a sponsor,
I'm gonna have to get a non-home office and move my mind map to my network map to the.
So those reality cameras are gonna be rolling.
Yeah,
are you gonna follow the 24-hour rule?
Yes, I absolutely am. I'm thinking we should do one of the episodes. We should do a cutaway to me doing a podcast with you, right?
I'm in.
That would be so cool.
I'm in on everything.
Okay, perfect.
I follow your journey.
Yay.
And what's the number one law of life your mom taught you?
Oh, I love this. Go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated.
Where is that for you today?
Ooh, I don't go anywhere where I'm just tolerated anymore. Hence why we're having lunch after this. Okay.
So you like to be with like-minded individuals that support your vision. What's the number one law of life your father taught you?
You're only as strong as you see yourself.
And last but definitely not least, what is your number one law of life?
Ooh, that's a good one. Put me on the spot here. It's gonna sound really cliche, and after a lot of like some really deep philosophical stuff that I've told you in this thing, it really comes down to Nike's slogan, just do it. It's a little deeper for me though, because as someone diagnosed with ADHD, the executive function problem I have is that like coming out of my head with a thought to do something is really tough. And so when I stopped being my own roadblock, like psychologically, and just started saying, okay, close your eyes, freaking make the phone call. That's when my world opened up. Go to the conference, buy the ticket, do the thing. My whole life opened up when I just got freaking past my brain block, So I just do it. If you're watching this podcast right now and you're like, I should be doing this tomorrow, I think I want to do this. Okay, stop it, just do it. Stop talking about it in your head to yourself. Do the dang thing.
Well, you've definitely done a lot. You're doing it every day. You're consistent, you're resilient, you are courageous, and we all support your journey.
Thank you.
And love your purpose to heal the world. And I hope that everybody out there watching the show learned something. I know I did. Thanks for watching.